Well, yes, indeed, Leo, with you here on a Thursday evening. Thank you ever so much for spending the evening with us. I hope you're okay. Let's have one of our favourites here on the show, Giles Whitehead from West Malling, with a recording of some of his memories of school productions at primary and secondary school in Tenterden during the 70s and 80s. And these may resonate. We must all have done this to some degree or another. Some people believe themselves to be a Thess kind of early on, don't they? I think I did. I ended up being quite active in these school productions. But some people just, don't want to be there and they end up being sort of the back end of a donkey or a tree or a plant or something to stand out of sight so you can go off and live your life afterwards. We're not all budding Thess when we were younger. We did one called, I think it was called something like Baron Bolligrew, and I had to play a pirate, I remember that, and I also had to play a magpie, and my friend was also a magpie. I was called Mazepa and he was called Magpie, and I think we had 2 or 3 shows over 3 nights, and one of the things he had to do with kind of a papier-mâché, I don't know what it was supposed to be a stick or something like that. He had to sort of bonk me over the head, okay, with a papier-mâché stick, which you think would be fine. But he really got into it as the days got on. And by the 3rd time, absolutely, he really gave me a good old whack with this thing. And I was supposed to act, go, ugh, and he did. And I was like, what are you doing? Talk about overperforming, for goodness sake. Marlon Brando of primary school back in the day, he had a real go at it. It would have been very atmospheric, but he was dressed mainly in Velcro and felt as a rather dodgy looking magpie. That was very weird. I kind of enjoyed it though, I must admit. Anyway, so school productions, maybe if you look back on fondness with those, this may resonate with you. He's very, very talented, is Giles. An artist he is, studied at the Kent Institute of Art and Design in Maidstone, grew up on a small dairy farm in Tenterden. We've had quite a few monologues, reminiscences of that. So let's listen to this now. It's called Merely This, to put you in the picture from when you were a lot younger. School Productions by Giles Whitehead in West Malling.
Among the many aspects of school life I didn't much enjoy, school productions provided a small haven of sanctuary. I liked the idea of taking part in these imaginative journeys, dressing up, singing, dancing, making props, and painting scenery. My first role of note was when I played God in Jonah Man Jazz, a musical retelling of the story of Jonah and the whale. I was, breaking all health and safety rules, directed to enhance my godlike presence by standing on one of those tall science room stools, reciting my lines to a large audience across the school hall. It was quite a scary prospect, and I do remember being very nervous, and I had to call out to Jonah with my words of wisdom, "Jonah! Jonah! Listen to me, Jonah!" But probably in a more high-pitched, squeaky kind of voice, aged 9 or 10 or whatever I was. There's also a photo of me from these early days when I played a zookeeper in Albert and the Lion. It was originally a monologue by Stanley Holloway, which was popular at the time. There I am wearing a white peaked cap and the word "Keeper" safety pinned on. Hats were one of my favourite aspects of school plays. They just centre you for the part somehow. For one production, everyone needed top hats, and one of the teachers made a lot of top hats, but they were made all perfectly round, so didn't fit onto anybody's heads, and tended to drop off during the dance scene. In those days, school musicals were always accompanied by the piano. It seemed back then that teachers could mostly play pianos. They played us into assemblies. We sang hymns to the piano. It came as standard. Do any schools do that now? I don't think it's so common anymore. In secondary school, when I was 12, I was cast as an orphan in Oliver. Well, I say cast. I think we just went along to the meetings and rehearsals, and if you were there, you could take part in whatever capacity was needed. It was nice that everyone was given a chance like that. Is it worth the waiting for? If I live till 84, all we ever get is gruel. The workhouse gruel was cold ready break, but we ate it anyway. In rehearsals, the music teacher, who was the director, wanting Bill Sikes to be a bit more intimidating, suggested grabbing a child, and when Bill Sikes came into Fagin's lair, I was chosen for the grab, and as he violently pulled me up by the collar, there was a tearing sound as my collar came off in his hands. "Sorry," said Bill Sikes, breaking character. And I remember thinking, I like your top hat. It doesn't fall off. A few years later we did a show called Magical Musical Tour, a sort of compilation musical in 4 sections. At this point, being a bit older and a teenager, and hormones as they are, being in school productions were a good excuse to mix with girls. And I remember holding hands with my allocated dance partner in the Cockney section at Lambeth Walk, and not wanting that to end, until someone else said, "All right, Giles, you can let go of her now." Oh, sorry. 1/4 of the magical musical tour was given over to the religious section, and I was given the part of Jesus. I don't think I auditioned for that, but after being cast as God in primary school, I wondered whether I just had that religious figure look. We performed songs from Jesus Christ Superstar and Godspell, and I did struggle to get the range of singing notes until the lad who was playing Pontius Pilate just said to me, "Just belt it out, Giles," and somehow that worked. I guess it's a confidence thing. You just can't be timid in these situations. At the end of that section was the sad and moving crucifixion scene, and once again I had to defy health and safety rules by standing on a small platform and hanging onto some pegs on a large wooden cross, whilst everyone below me processioned past, showing great sadness and remorse as the mournful music from Jesus Christ Superstar played. The problem was, as all the sadness and remorse was happening, I could feel my loincloth, only being a towel wrapped round and tucked in, slipping down. The moment seemed to go on forever as I desperately tried not to move and allow my holy and quite possibly holy Y-fronts beneath to be revealed. I was supposed to be dead, for goodness sake. What could I do? I was hanging onto a cross. I prayed that the scene would not turn into an embarrassing humiliation and to become a laughing stock. In order to move on to the next section of the musical, Judas had to come and take me down from the cross. Well, this was enough to finally dislodge the loincloth from its moorings. And as Judas lifted me off, it fell, and I, suddenly resurrected, had to make a desperate grab for my dignity. As soon as we were in the wings, I was off and out the side door, legging it down the corridor for a quick scene change, loincloth in hand.
School productions by Giles Whitehead in West Malling. There you are, memories of his school productions at primary and secondary school in Tenterden during the 70s and 80s. So talented. You can find him on Instagram and Facebook at Giles Whitehead Artist. He has his paintings on there, and you can also go and find him. He has work at the White Studios in West Malling and at Lovely's Gallery in Margate as well. Brilliant. Thank you so much, as always, Giles Whitehead, for your very satirical monologues. Like them.